Skip, so let's talk about what the Cubs are getting, because what we heard from him last night was it sounded like a very mature, aware young man whose mentality is among his strengths. Obviously, we know what he can bring to the mound. We saw it in the College World Series. But when you talk to scouts about Cade Horton, how do you describe him first?
Yeah, I mean, he's got leadership. He's got whatever it is, he has it. I mean, he's going to go out and work extremely hard at his tool set. He's going to go out and attack. I mean, the guy's a football player playing baseball. The best I can describe him is, you know, we had a fall in his freshman year, and he was really good. I mean, I've had some really good freshmen, but I've never had anybody as good as that guy in his freshman fall. Then we come back in January, and he's out there throwing live VP, and he's sitting 94 to 95. He steps off the back of the mound, grabs his hand, and first squeezing. I'm like, "Hey, you all right?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Next pitch was 95, and he goes like, "I'm done." So that's when he hurt his arm. So from that point on, it kind of really never hit him. You know, as good as football player as he was, you know, he's just a tough kid. So we let him travel with our club because we knew how important he was. And we took him on a road trip one time to Tulsa, and we got beat by Oklahoma State. He's sitting right behind me. He's just staring out the window, and I'm like, this guy's pretty good, man. You know, it hurts him and he's not even playing. It hurts him that bad. And I kind of knew what was inside of his chest, because that's where the difference is. That's what Ty Nichols does, y'all's area scout. I mean, that guy ought to be getting a raise, you know?
Yep.
I mean, because we can all see that they throw hard and have nasty breaking balls, but we can't really – that guy followed him through high school and through here to see what's inside of his head and what's inside of his chest, because that's the separator. The intangibles are the separators for me. I mean, look, you can see those guys. Look at Greg Maddux and those guys that's been great pitchers that pitch with their heart, you know. That's what this guy does. I mean, he was so mad at me, he didn't even talk to me for pulling him at 107 pitches in the national championship game.
You're talking about Ty Nichols, the Cubs area scout, who recommended Cade Horton to the Cubs and obviously spent a lot of time researching him, spending time around him, Coach. And we're talking to Skip Johnson, the Oklahoma baseball coach. And Skip, let's go back to recruiting Cade Horton. Let's go back to when he was a high school athlete in Norman, a hometown kid, and he had committed to Ole Miss. And I think that the difference from the way I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but Oklahoma offered him the possibility of playing both sports, whereas Ole Miss was not as willing to do that. Take it from there. How did he go from Ole Miss to Oklahoma, and how realistic was it for him to play two sports?
Well, we worked extremely hard on recruiting. There's no doubt about that. And, I mean, just look at the two different places and the two different fields. I mean, you know, that's probably SEC, you know, but you look at our track record and you look at my track record as a pitching coach. So that helped us a little bit in recruiting. And then when he wanted to, you know, try to walk on and play football, because he grew up in our camp. You know, I've got to know him over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. He came to my pitching camp. He came to our Wednesday night league, and he was that guy. He was an unbelievable, like you said, an unbelievable kid, really mature. And then all of a sudden we didn't re-recruit him when he was with Ole Miss. All he did was call one day and ask us, "Hey, you think they'll let me play football?" So we called over there. There's not another school, and I mean another school, that's done a better job and with two-way guys than the University of Oklahoma. Look at Kyler Murray. I mean, let's just be realistic. For not picking the first round,
yep,
and was a Heisman Trophy winner. How many people have got the opportunity to do that? None. So that was good. We talked to Lincoln. Lincoln said, okay, watched his film. Then he realized, I mean, he was sophomore eligible. His sophomore eligible draft. He's like, man, I better get going. So, you know, he comes out, you know, he sees the writing on the wall, so to speak. And then all of a sudden he's here. And we start getting him better, put him in a player program that, you know, a development program that we do. And, I mean, he is what he is.
So I find it interesting. He has a Tommy John surgery, and then he comes back from that gradually, but he's a good enough athlete, and assuming that he's a good enough hitter, that you played him at third base, and he played some shortstop for you before he was being relied upon as much as you did on the mound as a pitcher. How good of an infielder was he?
Oh, he's really good. I mean, that was the case. There's some guys that had him turned in before he got hurt. There's some guys say he might go in the first round as a hitter. And, you know, he gets hurt, gets behind, and you can't get behind in pitching. You get a little bit behind, but you're going to catch up really fast. And he caught up really fast. I mean, he can play third base or shortstop at a high level. There's no doubt about that. And I think that we always thought his future might be on the mound, even though, you know, I mean, his fall, he hit 10 home runs for us, you know, his freshman fall. And then this past fall, he didn't hit, so we started, you know, just say, man, we're working on playing third base. And Peyton gets hurt. Peyton Graham gets hurt on a tag up, like a first and third play where he hurts his thumb. And so we send him out to center field because Peyton can play anywhere on the field too. And Horton goes in and plays shortstop one weekend and makes some great plays across the middle of the field.
So the regular season, the numbers aren't as impressive as they were in the NCAA tournament. You get into the College World Series, and lights out, he's one of the standout performers in the entire in Omaha. And you look at what he was able to do and how far he was able to help you go. What was it about that season, or the lights getting brighter, the stage getting bigger, and him becoming more effective? Was it a matter of just he was rounding into form? Was he feeling healthier? What was it about him that in that clutch moment he came through?
Well, I mean, let's just say he is the best college right-handed pitcher at the end of the year. There's no doubt about that. I mean, you could look him or Deluge, the guy at Ole Miss. One of those two guys pitches as good as anybody at the end of the year. But I think the biggest thing for us was, hey, we're going to take this. We had the experience with Cade Horton. Cavalli was a first rounder as well, and we took him in his sophomore year. We threw him out of the bullpen. I could have been really selfish and thrown him out of the bullpen and probably done okay, but I knew we needed to start starting him as our third starter, and it got better every week. I mean, his first start, he goes out there and throws 1 or 2 or 3 innings. Next start, 4 or 5 innings, and it got better every week. Then he started working on the slider. The cutters turned into a slider. And all of a sudden, here we go. And he just started punching out the world because he's – whatever it is, he has it. So it was his mentality, his execution of his pitches. And I really think he's got to continue working on fastball command and a third pitch. And I think that's what's going to be the separator for him. I think he'll pitch. I think he'll be a number 1, number 2 starter in a big league.
Talking with Skip Johnson, the Oklahoma baseball coach who knows Cade Horton well. Cade Horton, the 7th overall pick of the Chicago Cubs last night in the Major League Draft. So let's talk about what he offers in terms of a repertoire as a starting pitcher, because I think that's the way that he will be groomed and developed with the Cubs. They are very proud of their pitching lab, and they take a good hard look at everything that somebody comes to them, and they look at his stuff. How polished is his stuff? And when you talk about developing a third pitch, what would be the third pitch as of right now?
Change up. The change up, I think that'd be the next thing is what he needs to learn is the command of the change up. He can throw it, but the command of the change up, throwing it any time is what's going to be the separator.
Were you surprised?
Pitching's an art.
Were you surprised he went 7th overall? Was that a little bit earlier than you expected him to go?
Absolutely not. Nope. I thought he might go before that. When I was surprised with was Peyton Graham, I can tell you that. Because that guy's a dynamic athlete. I mean, a dynamic athlete.
We heard from Cade Horton, and he talked about the first thing he did, and the first person he called was Ed Howard, somebody who had committed to you, I believe, before he ended up being a Cubs draft pick as well. And also he talked about being best friends with Kendall Pettis, also from Chicago, as a guy who's locally well known. You must recruit the Chicago area pretty well there, Skip. I mean, has it been good to you?
Yeah, well, Coach Overcast is he was a Chicago White Sox scout for many years, and he's my assistant coach, and he's a recruiting coordinator. And having Ed Howard and Kendall Pettis, and I was at the University of Texas for 10 years, and Mark Payton played for me.
Okay.
Mark Payton is a special young man, and Dave Payton and his family, they're really special. And so, we're going to go everywhere, whatever it takes for guys to try to sign them and be Sooners for sure.
You have a ton of experience. You know how this works. When you see a guy drafted, all of a sudden you hear the comps. You hear the guys who they remind analysts of or baseball fans of. If you had to make a comp for Cade Horton, who would it be?
Annabelle Sanchez, somebody like that. A guy that can, that's why I look at him. A Dave Steve type guy. That's getting pretty old right there, Dave Steve. But some guys like that, guys that are going to be. I wouldn't say Scherzer. I wouldn't say those guys. I think the mentality's like Scherzer for sure. He's going to get after it, and if you ought to just pull up some of the game film of the game he pitched at Arlington. I mean, it was pretty special. I mean, you see how electric his stuff was, and I haven't watched just a little bit of the second game or the last game in Omaha, but I know there was one time in there, one of the right-handers swung at a ball that was 2.5 feet in the left-hand batter's box. So that just shows you his kind of stuff.
You said it was hard to remove him from games at times. Was the hardest in the College World Series, or are there other memories that come to mind when I ask that?
Well, it was more so the College World Series. I never had to do it too much. I pulled him, and I'm trying to get him built up every 15 pitches. I had him built up to 100 pitches, 105 pitches in Omaha. So it was time to get him out of there. I sent him back out there, and I said, if one guy gets on, man, you're done. And he goes, okay. And he punches the first guy in like 4 pitches. The next guy goes 1-2, and he's trying to execute a slider on his back foot, hangs it. He singles up the middle, and I go pull him, and he didn't want me to pull him, but I got really ridiculed for pulling him. But you know what? We had a really good closer. I'm not worried about the ridicule because the game is not as important as a player to me. So it was important for me to get him out of there at that time.
You've been around college baseball a long time. When you see a clutch performance and you experience what you did with Cade Horton, where did that performance stack up in terms of your experience as a coach in college?
Oh, at the very top. I mean, the last 3 weeks of what he did was incredible. I mean, he took the ball. I mean, it was like a guy that was on a mission. I mean, it was totally different. Everything that he did was totally different, and it was pretty special. I mean, he even hit in Omaha, I think, and we even DH'd him once in Omaha, and we were really worried about him DH'ing. It's like, man, we got to win every game, so let's just do what we have to do to win this game. And so he's pretty special, man. I hate to miss him, but we ain't missing him. He'll still throw with me, and he'll come by and see the guys, and it's going to be fun.